Coach Shantay Legans and the Portland Pilots rejoin the Marching to Madness College Basketball Podcast. The Pilots finished tied for sixth in the WCC this past season. They will look to rebound in the coming season and push themselves into a challenging position in there now. They won 3 out of 4 to end the season. That last loss was to San Francisco in the WCC tournament. Coach, it's a pleasure having you back on, man.
Thanks for having me. I love being on your show. I hope we are marching to madness this year. We need to have a much better year than we did last year. But yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Last season, what were some things that kind of derailed the pilot ship?
It has a lot to do with chemistry. For me, I'm a coach, and I love to have guys that love playing with each other, and I did a bad job of making sure that we got them all together. We had some talented guys. I'll never blame anything on some players, but I didn't do a great job of getting these guys together and pointing in one direction. We had guys that had different goals, and so I didn't do a great job of getting everybody on the same page. And I learned a lot last year from how to do different things and what I could have done better. I missed out on a lot of different things during that season, especially in the summer. Could have done a much better job of really galvanizing those guys during the year and getting them together. I didn't do a good job there, and our assistants were working their tails off, and our players, we had some very good young men, and obviously injuries, and we had a couple academic issues that we had to take care of. But at the end of the day, you bring in some good players, and you bring in some guys that you feel are going to be better than they played this season. I just didn't do a good job of tapping into that because we did have some talented guys.
We were talking off camera. You went into Australia recruiting, kind of,
Yeah.
as people generally won't know, and I won't even know. Talk about going to Australia, where the Australian Pro League is so big. They love
Yeah.
basketball there, and talk about recruiting. How is recruiting maybe different there than here?
Well, there's some really talented players in Australia, and they know how to play basketball. They've been playing. They have several teams they play on. You got their top league. You got right below that league, the semi-pro league. Then you got their high school league. Then you got the academies and different things like that. And so, there's a lot of players that are very skilled. And so, what I've done is I've garnered some great relationships over the years. I know I worked for one of the head coaches I worked for before, Jim Hayford, had a great relationship with a lot of people in Australia. And so what I got a chance to do as a young assistant was go over there and spend some time with them, and I spent a lot of time, and I kept those relationships up. And then when I became a head coach, I mean, we got 4 Australians on our team this year, so I had to do a lot of home visits when I went over there, make sure I sat down with some people and sat down and had lunch or dinner with a family that's already committed and coming to our school. So that was a good time. It was a much needed trip. But I think a lot of these international players, they're starting to become understanding that they want to get over there and play basketball. And there's a lot of players in the States too that really want to play basketball, but there's some things you have to battle through in the States that you won't have to battle through, in Australia. There's usually one person you got to talk to help get a kid to your school, and their parents. And instead, it's like, and sometimes in America and the States, or guys with different types of personality, you get their parents, the high school coach, the AAU coach, the trainer, you have all these guys you have to talk to try to get the kid, and it is the name of the game. And so you have to decipher who you have to talk to, who's going to help the kid. And a lot of times in different places like Australia, you got one, it's their parents and their coach, or their parents and the guy that's helping them out. And that makes it a little bit easier with the communication piece. It's recruiting's become so transactional. You still have relationships and different things that you can really build on, and try to make sure you're still going. There's relationships here, but a lot of stuff has become transactional here, and it's tough because sometimes those transactions just don't add up to what you need them to.
Do you find international players like in Australia becoming more motivated now that they see players like Luka Doncic coming here playing for the Dallas Mavericks? He's in the finals. Kristaps Porzingis, with
Yeah,
the Celtics, or maybe Nikola Jokic, would be
yeah,
at the top of that list for me.
Well, you got 2 Australians playing for Dallas, you know? You got the Josh Green kid, and then you got, the point guard. I can't believe it's slipping my mind, right now. They're gonna be all mad at me, but you got those 2 guys right now that are playing, and Josh Giddey was just in the conference, you know, he just played. There's a lot of international players, so the international field, Australia, anybody, I think, really believe that they can come here, if especially if they're good players now, and if you're better than the guy ahead of you, you're gonna get a chance you'll get that opportunity, and so, the basketball is becoming a worldwide sport, and it's catching on, and everyone's starting to love it, and obviously it's a beloved sport already, but it's even becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, especially with these international players, what they're doing in the NBA right now, and how they're playing in Euro Cup and Euro basketball, and just their imprint right now. Just in America's basketball with the offenses, a lot of teams run now and different things like that. I mean, you got Spain pick and rolls, you got the ball screen, but you got all these things that are coming from different countries, which is great. I think basketball is becoming a worldwide sport. And I'm really excited to be a part of that.
Of course, the transfer portal is becoming more and more of a topic and an
Yeah,
entity inside the game. It feels like if this would have been on the agenda of the NCAA and they would have posted rules and ways that, okay, you've got to go about doing this, like you wouldn't have the top 5 in the country being able to roll past the bottom 5 in any situation.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's the world you live in, though, right? And so, like,
Right.
I take it as a challenge. There's you get the top 50, top 100 guys in the portal. There's a lot of kids in the portal, and I feel bad for some of the kids and their families. They've gotten some really bad advice,
Yeah.
and it put them in a tough spot. Now they're not going to college anymore. They're not getting their scholarship, and so, and then also it's a good thing because you get some players like Dalton Connect at Tennessee. You get, there's a handful of players that do well, but I think you got to make sure you're going into the right situation. You got to have the right people behind you. You have to be leaving and transferring for the right reasons. And there's some kids that just, they get stuck against some adversity and they bounce. And that's just, that's what happens. And my profession too. And it's just, coaches do the same thing in some spots. And so, it's just becoming a culture, where if it doesn't work out the first time, you could bounce. You have bad, yeah. I think there's a lot of bad advice going around. There's a lot of non-truths that are being told a lot of the time, especially to these young men that are jumping into the transfer portal. I wish all these families and parents and these kids and all that the best, but I want them to make sure they're really making good decisions on when they are, because sometimes you leave a great situation to go into a situation that's not for you, but it looks good, it sounds good, people said it was good, but it's not a good spot. And so, it's just touch and go. It's just where we're at in college basketball. It makes it a little bit, if you can go and get some right, you can have a really bad year one year and come back and get lucky with some transfers, and those transfers probably come up golden, or you could, have a good year one year and all your guys leave. It's just so tough. And so, you got to start, like I said, you got to build these relationships and with the guys you have on your team, and try to keep a core group of guys as much as you can, and hope those guys want to stick with you, and write out I call it an old school college program.
Offensively is the big key to create more shots. And of course, I guess that would start with like for your best shooters.
Yeah. So yeah, we want to definitely, what we try to do is we really want to get up and down and play fast. We couldn't do that last year. We had some injuries and we had to handle, like I said, some academic issues. But we didn't have the guys that we started the season with finish the season. So we had to change in the middle of the year, which is basketball. Like I said, everything, is I call it fluid. Everything's moving, it doesn't stop, and you got to make sure you're putting your guys in the best position possible to win games. And so last year we had to really slow it down and be more deliberate and do a lot of different sets and different things like that. It wasn't more read and react type of offense that I like to play. We still had multiple guys have over 20 points in one game, which is, I really hang my hat on a lot of guys scoring. But we had a guy that dominated the ball a lot, Tyler Robertson. I thought he was very good, but he also dominated the ball. He was one of the guys that his usage rate was pretty high. Then we had a guy, that shot a lot of threes, and I think Vukasin Masic, who's coming back next year, did a great job with the ball in his hands last year. And I thought, he's going to be a really good point guard for us, and he's going to be able to be a lead guard that can go score some baskets. So, we'd like to get our best players more shots. I mean, the best players should get the most shots on the team, and so that's what you try to do. And then the guys who are getting better and better got to be able to knock down shots and keep getting better.
Juan Gorosito and
Yeah,
Tyler Harris transferred out to Ball State in Washington, picked up Jermaine Webb, who's a
yeah.
7-foot center. He played here at Montverde.
Hmm. Yeah, he's a good player. We got him in the portal. I thought that was a must need for us. He played behind I think it was either MVP or one of the top players in his league at his position. So, he went into the portal for the right reasons. He wanted to play. He wanted to get out there. He wasn't leaving just to leave. And so that was a good pickup for us. And we also signed Mackinnon from Elon, who's going to be
Yeah.
a really good player for us. Another Aussie, somebody we have connections with, and so he's going to be a hell of a player for us. I think he's very tough, could handle another guy that can handle the ball, come off ball screens, and make good decisions. He had 85 assists or 80 plus assists last season and shot the ball around 36% from three. And he was the freshman of the year. So we're really excited about him. Then we got some really good freshmen, and we got some guys that we kept from our team last year. So, we're excited about our team. You should be excited. I mean, especially when it's June, June, whatever, you're really excited about your team and the opportunities that you have. And so the guys we got coming in, I think, like you said, Jermaine, I think it's going to be a big piece for us because we have a big guy. We needed a big guy. We went and found a guy I think that's very intelligent, smart, understands the game, and he's already here working. And so we're really excited about him. And he's in the gym by himself. He's getting some, he's lifting. He's doing everything he needs to do, getting ahead in class because this is a big year for him. He has a chip on his shoulder. He wants to prove everybody that he can play the game, and we're really excited to have him.
How do you turn the page on last season, move into this season, in the spring and summer, knowing what you need to work on, but also knowing this portal is around? You could lose, you could gain.
Yeah, and that was last year. I mean, last year that's all I thought about. Am I going to lose my guys? Am I going to lose this guy? Man, we didn't. We weren't coaching to like we always coach, free, easy, have fun, make sure our guys are doing great. I did a terrible job. Like I said, I didn't do a good job of really handling and maneuvering that well. Again, it was a learning year for me. I got to learn a lot about how to do different things, and especially when you have some really good young talent, you're worried. I mean, you're worried about losing them every minute, every day. Yeah, and then you get these transfer reports while you're having games. You got your friends and your colleagues calling you, "Hey, man, I got this transfer report. A couple of your players are already on it." It's like we're still going on the season. What transfer report? And these publications come out. These guys could be the top transfers in college basketball if they leave. It's so you're thinking of that. You just got to figure it's another thing you got to block out. It's another thing you got to just put your head forward and coach and have fun and make sure you're coaching the guys that you have. Coach, be in the present with them. Don't be thinking about obviously. You got to talk about it with your team. It's something you talk about. It's you can't it's something you just don't act like it's there. It's there. You could think it's not there, but it's there. The guys hear about it. They get DMs from different collectives, from different coaches, and there's 1,000 ways to get a hold of a kid during a season, which my guys are getting hit up all the time. And so,
Mhm.
it is what it is. And so you got to just be able to maneuver that and make sure you have great relationships with your players. And that is something that's on the players' minds all the time. Oh, I'm not playing right now. I'm out. They start thinking about leaving instead of trying to think about the next time they got their opportunity, how they're going to run with it. Instead they're thinking about how I'm going to run when the season's over. And so that's something you got to maneuver. You got to keep guys engaged, even if they're your ninth, 10th, 11th man. You got to keep them ready to go. Injuries happen. It's a long season. And then you got to keep the guys that are playing engaged. You want them to be, feeling that they're a big part of your program and make sure they're doing the right stuff. And it's hard because these guys nowadays are always, everything's at your fingertips. And so they get information faster than the coaches do at times. And so you have to hear different things. And if you are having a good season, then as a coach, your name's going around. Now you have to worry about your guys thinking you're going to get a job. So it's so much information that comes throughout a season. And so if you got to keep your group tight, you got to keep your group engaged the whole time, and you got to be very, very open with your team, very transparent.
As far as defensively, what are the first couple things you're going to work on to improve on there? especially defense turns into off.
Yeah, well, our transition defense wasn't good last year. Our ball screen defense wasn't good last year. Our one-on-one defense, so everything. Nah, we're gonna be much better defensively next year. I really do. It's what you put your mind to as a coach, what your team picks up. And again, like I said, I need to do a better job of certain things, and I think that's going to be one of them. Our transition defense last year wasn't great. A lot of turnovers led to easy baskets for other teams. We call them pick sixes. They get in, just get a layup. Those are killers for your transition defense. And so we got to make sure we do a better job there. And then defensively, we just got to compete and stay in front of the ball, and finish the plays with rebounds. I think we need our defensive rebounding must go up. We must compete on that end like wild, wild dogs. We just got to go out there and rebound. And so I think that hurt us last year. And so when we're able to, I think we'll be able to put all that together. I think we got a youthful team that's going to be excited about the whole situation. And then we also have a team that's going to be, very, very, very physical. Something that we haven't been because we're going to have some depth. And so that's going to be a change for me too.
Who do you have that will be back that will play key roles for you um, going in as you plan for next season?
You got Vukasin Masic, who shot about 40%, shot over 4 threes a game.
Sure,
So you got
man.
him coming back. Yeah, he's really good. You got Chris Austin coming back. I think he's going to have a year. He's coming off a gruesome leg break 2 years ago. So I'm hoping this will be his year. He gets all the way back to his healthiness. And you got Boldank Dit, who was a big time freshman. I thought should have been freshman. We've been on the all freshman team last year. I think he had more double doubles than any other freshman. Oh, I think he did. I think he did. Don't quote me on that. Than any other freshman in league play. And
Mm-hmm.
so I thought he should have had a chance to maybe be all freshman last year. I thought he did a good job and earned it and deserved it. So you look at
11
those
on
things and
Sunday. Yeah.
yeah, so I thought he did a great job, and then you got the kids that redshirted last year that I think are going to really step up. Vince Delano, and then you got Kelson Gevers. I think those two guys are also going to be really key for us. So you bring back 5 guys that know your system, that know your offense, and you bring in some young guys that are eager to play, that are going to they're biting at the bit, and then you bring in a couple transfers that have played at a pretty good level and that have done really and had great numbers and been really successful. So you're only bringing in 2 guys that you haven't coached in college before, and all the other guys are been coached by us for the last couple of years, and then you got the freshmen that are only going to know you. So I think we'll have a good start right there with a lot of trust with those guys, and I'm excited to see what can happen. But those guys that we got who stayed, I think are going to be really good. They're key parts to what we needed to do, and I think our assistant coaches and our administration did a good job of keeping those guys in.
Last thing, Coach, the Boston Celtics take on the Dallas Mavericks in game 1. We finally got to game 1. It feels like the rest of the playoffs were
Forever.
last year. But
Man.
how do you look at that playoff championship series and maybe a couple of the keys?
Well, I'm a Laker fan, so when I
Yeah.
get to watch some NBA games, I'm a big time fan. I love what they do with the NBA. So I'm rooting for Dallas, for the Dallas Lakers.
Mhm.
This next couple of this 7 game series, but it's going to be interesting how the ball screen defense is going to work for Dallas. Not for Dallas, I mean for how Boston's going to guard the ball screens because it's so hard. Are you going to drop? Are you going to switch? Are you going to put Horford in a lot of different ball screens? He's not great with his feet. Them getting Porzingis back is going to be big. Are they going to go small to guard Dallas? How they're going to guard the ball screen is going to be huge. And then on the flip side, it's how is Dallas going to guard their mismatches with Kyrie having to guard Tatum and Brown and those guys in the post, and they're going to try to get Luka in different situations. And so it's going to be kind of fun to see how they spread everybody out. And if Porzingis does play, they're going to keep Lively and the other big kid away from the basket because he shoots so many threes. So how's that going to work, the picking and popping? Are they going to switch it? And it's going to come down to, I think, who can really set the turn early, especially with the style of play, because you're going to get one team spreading you out and the other team's going to come ball screen and try to get downhill into the paint on you. And if Dallas is hitting them threes, man, in the corner, it's going to be hard to guard because Luka's tough to guard, man, and so is Kyrie. And so it's just going to be a tough series. I'm rooting for Dallas. I think Dallas is going to get it. We have everyone, split down the middle, but I can't have Boston getting more championships than the Lakers. So, all the way Dallas.
Yeah, it'd be 18-17 if the
I
Celtics
know. Oh,
get
believe
there.
me, I know.
I was always the guy that back in the 80s when I grew up,
Yeah.
it was either Boston or LA. I was always the guy pulling against both teams because I'm going to see
Yeah.
some
Philly.
variety.
Yeah, you go in Philly. At least this year, at least the players, it's a variety of players. They're all going to be new besides Kyrie getting some championship rings. So that's kind of cool. You don't have the same superstars and the same stars in the championship or even in the semifinals,
Yeah.
conference finals. It was all new teams. It was, new players, not teams, but new players. That's kind of, I think that's what's making the NBA so interesting is all these new players now and the parity of basketball is pretty cool right now. You had OKC number 1, Minnesota number 2, Dallas is in there. You get Indiana that, obviously hasn't been good for a little while. And so you got all these new upcoming stars, which is good because these older guys, I hate to say it, are getting older.
Yeah.
You get some guys that are getting older. Steph Curry's 35, 36 years old. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
You don't look it, but he is.
I covered Davidson when I was in Charlotte with Steph's years. Now I
Yeah.
wish I'd have seen him more because,
Yeah.
he's
He's something else, ain't he?
he's my guy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's
Coach.
it's been it's been fun.
Yeah. Oh, it's been really fun. Coach Shantay Legans and his Portland Pilots looking to ride back into calmer waters in the WCC.
Exactly. Hey,
Lot, Coach.
Riverboat Pilots. Hey, it's going to be hashtag Let It Rain this year.
Let it rain. There you go. Hashtag
There
let
you
it
go.
rain.
Hashtag Let It Rain. Okay, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate
Thank you,
your
man.
time. Yeah.
Anytime. I love
Yeah.
your podcast, man. All right. Talk to you later.